I think the German translation got mixed up a bit. It's behavior design and human well-being. And I just realized after reflecting on all the workshops or talks or sessions that I've done with clients that I have a 100% success rate at helping people break through their routine ways of thinking, their routine ways of feeling, and pushing people just past their comfort zone so they're on that edge of growth. And you guys get to choose, since you're sitting in the audience and you're attending my session, you've given me permission to perhaps push you a bit on that edge of growth for you to make that choice to break through. Sound good? All right. Okay, so brace yourselves. If you're hearing the sound of my voice now, right here, right now, I want you to start paying attention to your breath. The natural inhale and exhale of your breath. Very good. If you're still hearing the sound of my voice now, right here, when you take an inhale in, and I want you to hold it at the top. And as you're holding at the top, I want you to think about perhaps a thought or a potential fear that's just holding you back professionally or personally, and continue holding it. Continue holding that breath. Continue holding that thought or that feeling. Continue holding it. Hold, hold. Perhaps it's getting uncomfortable. Very good. And now you can let it go. And as you exhale, I want you to clear the stuff from your laps. Put it below you as if you're getting ready to jump out of your seat. Please clear the stuff from your laps. Yes. You in the front row with the laptop. Yes, very good. And if you're still hearing the sound of my voice right here, right now, take a collective last breath in. Hold. And as you exhale this time, I want you to stand up and high five your new partner friend next to you. Go. Nice, very good. This is going to be your new best friend for the next perhaps 1 minute. Awesome. If you're still hearing the sound of my voice right now, look at who has the longer hair. Person with the longer hair, you are person A. Person with the longer hair, you are person A. Person B, you're the person with the shorter hair. What we're going to do now is person A, you are going to lead, and you're going to lead without words. You can laugh, you can smile, you can lead with your body, with your facial expressions. And person B, you will mirror and follow as closely as possible. And while you're doing this, continue to listen to my voice to hear why we're doing such a awesome exercise. Okay? Person A, you ready? Take it away. Go. You move, they follow. You smile, they smile. You laugh, they laugh. You want to mirror as closely as possible, person B. They don't even know they're looking at a different person. You're doing great. That's it. You're doing great. And while you're continuing to do this, continue hearing the sound of my voice. As you're continuing to move, continue listening to the sound of my voice and start to pay attention. Is this silly? Like, why are we doing this? This is dumb. Wow, why am I doing this? All right, switch. Person B, you now lead. Person A, you follow. Now the realization kicks in. Isn't this the same type of feelings and thoughts that we have when we're trying to innovate or take risks or try some new things? It might be silly. Like Torsten when he was creating My Horse. Who thought My Horse was going to make so much money? Awesome, very good. 2 high fives, fist bumps, and a seat. I knew you had it in you. I knew you all had it in you. It's not a Swiss audience thing or a Brit audience thing. I see you guys all as human beings. We want to laugh. We want to connect. I see you all as human beings, not a Swiss audience where it's so reserved. Everybody's telling me, oh, everybody's so reserved, like, be warned. Like, no. No, you guys are fine. So why did we do that? If you heard the sound of my voice earlier, today you're going to experience some of the same emotions of why people aren't taking risks. Not just Swiss, but anybody, right? Even American companies that I consult with, you train them in a specific method to test really quickly. Even if you take calculated risks, there's still that feeling of uncertainty, isn't there? You don't know if it's actually going to work 100%. So there's that feeling of insecurity or fear, whether it's a thought, whether it's emotion, and it's those same thoughts and feelings that you just had in the same exercise here, where you're mirroring. This is dumb, or I've done this before. This is silly. You think my horse was silly? You think that investor thought my horse was silly? But no, he proved them wrong. Even though he took the risk, the confidence came afterwards. The confidence came afterwards. The clarity came afterwards. So if we're trying to innovate, no matter Swiss, American, Brits, Asian, whatever, we have to experience that thought of risk and that emotion of risk, that thought of uncertainty or fear or that emotion of fear, and not avoid it, but instead go through with it. If you can't do a simple, silly mirroring exercise, how can you make a business or a product decision that is silly or out of the norm or out of the routine? So again, 100% success rate at breaking your routine way of thinking and feeling, we've already succeeded together. Awesome. So today what I'm going to talk about is behavior design and well-being. Behavior design is a new approach of understanding human behavior and how to design solutions for behavior change. It's born out of the Stanford Behavior Design Lab, my dear mentor and colleague, Dr. B.J. Fogg. This is his work in behavior design that I've come to learn, practice, implement, and obsess over. And I'm going to share two tools today with you in behavior design. One is a way of thinking, a model of human behavior. I'll tease you with a specific behavior design method that I can share with you today. And then I'm going to share with you a specific target to how to apply this and what the target is. It's human well-being, but what the hell does that actually mean? It's super fuzzy. So let me give you an example here. Let's dive in with the behavior design model. This is a model to think about human behavior. And it's called the Fogg behavior model. You do not have to write this down. For now, because I'm going to show it to you on the screen, I'm going to link it to you as well. Right now, if you're paying attention to this, I just want you to soak it in like the warm sun that you had earlier this summer, or like a warm shower or water falling over you, for your conscious and subconscious mind. This is the Fogg behavior model. And the Fogg behavior model helps us understand when behavior happens and when it doesn't. Behavior happens when three things come together at the same moment. Even if one of the elements are missing, the behavior doesn't happen. Motivation to do the behavior, ability to do the behavior, and a prompt to do the behavior. And by prompt, I mean the thing that says, act now, do this now. Let's take an example. Volunteer answers here. The phone rings. You do not pick up. Why? Anybody can throw it out. 3, 2, 1. Why don't you pick up? Social context. A specific example, like you're at work. Dating a girl. You're dating a girl? You're dating a girl. Great answer. Thank you. Round of applause for the gentleman in the front. Very good. Very good. Awesome. Way to be first. Take the lead. Set permission to everybody that you can call out and answer, and perhaps you may be praised and cheered upon by your peers. Okay, so you're dating a girl. You don't pick up the phone because the motivation isn't there. The girl, you are much more motivated by the beautiful human in front of you. Great, the phone rings again. You do not pick up. Why? Your mother, yes. Everybody can relate. Great, what else? You do not pick up the phone. Why? What? It's in the other room. Great. So your mother option was a motivation reason. The phone in the other room was the ability reason. Physically, you hear it. You even want to talk to the person, but it's in the other room, and perhaps for some reason, you can't get there. And then lastly, we have the prompt. Let's see if you guys can get this. If not, I have a backup example for you. Why don't you pick up the phone? It's your ex-girlfriend, okay? That's another motivation reason. And then we heard from the gentleman up in the front. Thank you for closing it out. Another round of applause for the gentleman up front. Yes, he's embarrassed. Great. It's on mute. Even if you want to talk to the person, the phone is right in your pocket, but you don't have the prompt that says, act now, pick up the phone. The behavior doesn't happen. All three of these need to happen at the same moment. And most of the time, here's a bonus thing. When we think about behavior change, we think about let's just motivate people. Let's motivate people to be healthier. Let's motivate people. And based on the reasonings and the answers brought out, this is kind of universal. No matter what audience I'm talking to, there's always more motivation reasons because we've been conditioned to think in order to help a person change, whether it's ourselves or other people, I just need to be more motivated or I need to motivate the person. In behavior design, that's not true. Now, if you're a visual person like me, you can visualize this on two dimensions. Motivation ranges from high, medium, low. It's never the same, it's range. It's like a wave, right? Down here, we have ability, and it can range from easy to do all the way to hard to do. When the person calls, you really want to talk to them. It's so easy to do. It's in your hand. You hear the ring. When prompted, the behavior happens. On the flip side, if the prompt falls below the action line, you don't want to talk to the person. The phone's away in the other room. Even if you hear the prompt or you don't hear the prompt, no matter how many times they email you, text you, call you, the behavior won't happen. Prompts fail below the action line. Prompts succeed above the action line. Let's just take two more examples here. Participation required. You really want to do the behavior. You really want to do it. You're really motivated, but you just can't do it. How do you feel? 3, 2, 1. Frustrated. That's it. We intuitively know this. This is where frustration lives on the behavior model. We know this intuitively, but when we're designing behavior with teams, wouldn't it be great to share a simple framework where you're all on the same page and thinking about behavior in the same way? This is where frustration lives. And so if you wanted to do a behavior, this is an actual case. A nonprofit wanted to accept more money, but the behavior of actually donating on the website was so hard to do. I wanted to give them money. I wanted to give them out. How many times you wanted to give a person money, but it's just so hard to do. If they just made it a bit easier, behavior would have happened, right? Last example here. You really don't want to do the behavior. You really don't want to do it, but it's so easy to do. A person asks you to do it. How do you feel? What is that? What? Embarrassed? Okay. You don't really want to do it, but it's so easy to do. How do you feel? Almost. Forced, all right. Perhaps annoyed. This is where annoyance lives. Hey, honey, take out the trash. Hey, honey, take out the trash. Hey, it doesn't happen. Hey, honey, take out the trash. Boom. You take out the trash just so that you don't have to hear the, hey, honey, take out the trash. All right. This is the Fogg behavior model. If you go to behaviormodel.org, you can find it online. You can find more detail into it. Again, this is BJ's Fogg's model. I just wanted to share it with you today. This is one way to think about human behavior in a new way, in a systematic way. Now, what's after this? What is a behavior design method that I can share with you today, that I can tease you with today? How do we actually test for behavior change? Participation required. Imagine you have 100 hours with your team. 100 hours to learn as quickly as possible to see if a new idea, a new innovation is worth your time. Do you spend, option A, 100 hours on one test or the 100 hours on 25 tests? 3, 2, 1, 25. A or B? B, okay, we do this, or we say we do this, but normally what do we do at work? We spend 100 hours on that one test, don't we? To make it as shiny and perfect as possible. Why? Because it's the same feeling that we want to avoid when we did that mirroring exercise, that feeling of uncertainty or discomfort or this is silly. It's the same feeling in your body and your mind, but now in a professional context. Of course, we spend the 100 hours testing 25 ideas at 4 hours each, and that's exactly what snap testing is. There's 7 core methods in behavior design. I can share with you the last method, method number 7. BJ and I, we co-authored this new expert guide series on behavior design. It was a book, but we chunked it down to make it even more accessible. If you want to learn behavior design and the other methods, BJ can do that for you. But I'm authorized to be able to share snap testing with you and train others to do it. Now, what is snap testing? Snap testing is a quick quantitative test of the psychology of the idea or behavior in 4 hours of work or less. Not 4 consecutive hours, but 4 hours total or less. So I wanted to give you 4 examples just to illustrate what snap testing can do. The first one I'll just share verbally with you. It's a digital health startup, web and mobile, based out of Amsterdam. They're helping people with chronic kidney disease delay dialysis. And one way to do that, one is, yes, you can learn about what you can do, but also really it's about eating the right things. So they're evolving into building a mobile app, and they want a coaching component in there. Well, if you're a developer, you're a product manager, you know how long that's going to take. It's going to take more than 4 hours to develop that coaching feature, code, UI, UX, front end, back end. But in more normal testing, you might test with surveys or focus groups or create some mock-ups. But what you're really testing is people telling you what they would do versus what they actually are going to do, what they say they're going to do versus what they're actually going to do. Because the actual behavior that we're testing here is, if a person signs up and they buy the program, are they actually going to interact with the coach on your phone? It can be through WhatsApp or through text message. We tested through text messaging in the States. And there's tons of services there to go quick and lean. And if you remember GroupMe, acquired by Microsoft now, but free text message and they can download the app. Immediately I said, okay, you want to do that behavior? Great. What I simply need is for you, when they sign up and they purchase, add an input field with their number so I can get their number and I can put them into the GroupMe. And I'll run that test. And I'll see if we can engage people to actually be coached and interact with the mobile phone and in that specific behavior. How long can you imagine that took? Less than 4 hours, right? To see if we can get the results and test the psychology behind the behavior of, will a person interact with the coach on their phone when they sign up for the app versus spending the time to building the mock-ups, the UI, the UX, and the front end and back end, and then get the feature and see if the behavior happens. So in your mind, while I'm sharing these examples, it may not be one-to-one, but think of the examples that this is true for you too. The second example is, David, does snap testing also work for physical experiences, physical products like vehicles or something physical? Well, if it can work for a meditation bus, yeah, I think it can work for your physical experience too, if you're testing a physical product or service. This is Pause Now, the first mobile meditation center in the Bay Area. A client of mine called Pause Now. This is when they're on the news. So how do you snap test a meditation bus? This took tons of time, like 1.5 years to reupholster, to do the design, to add sunroof panels, to install the iPad tablets and all of that. But what if people weren't willing to get on a damn bus near work to sit and meditate? So what we did was, I said, Jackie, okay, so Jackie's story is she was a banker for 30 years. And then when her son finally left college, she was like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to pursue my dream, an entrepreneur. Whether you are an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur in a company, it doesn't matter. You're still trying to innovate, and you're still going to feel the same things. You're going to have the same thoughts of risk or uncertainty and the same emotions. It doesn't matter where you are. So I said she had her last day on a Friday. We had her behavior design session on a Sunday to map out, okay, what specific behaviors. I told her, okay, order one of those white moving vans. We're gonna share a Facebook post telling your colleagues that we're gonna be parked near the Wells Fargo that she worked at in San Francisco, that she told everybody about, hey, I'm quitting my job and I'm pursuing my dream. And then I said, This is us parked out near her office in San Francisco. This is us doing another test across LinkedIn in San Francisco. We helped so many people like this gentleman experience their first meditation ever. You can see how we just snap tested I said, decorate it however you want, put some drapes, put a chair. This is actually notebook, getting the Google surveys right then and there. This is another meditation chair that we tested. This is the side door of the van. If you are not a coworker, you're definitely not getting into this van, right? But what happened was, if we can't get her coworkers, who are the target customer segment, busy professionals, stressed professionals, right around the corner from where she worked, where she just quit her job, and where everybody knew that she was going to pursue her dream. If we can't get the most motivated people to do the behavior of stepping on a bus, putting on headphones, and meditating, you're not going to do it a year and a half when you reupholster the bus. The psychology doesn't work. If we asked 30 of her coworkers and only one showed up, a clear no. If we asked 10 of her coworkers and only one showed up, a clear signal that, hey, this is not the right behavior. This is not the right behavior. Let's shift to a different idea. You can get that answer in 4 hours or less. You can get that signal of, do we go with this? Do we invest more resources? Or do we pivot and test something else in 4 hours or less? That's snap testing. This is another example. That's Jackie. Third example that I want to share with you is, okay, David, can we snap test something like AI and avatars? So this is another case of a client that wanted to create a mobile app around the health space and got a lot of research and information that, hey, we should create an avatar powered by AI and so on and so forth. Said, okay, that's going to take a long time, right? They haven't even developed anything yet. And so how do we test for this? Well, it was a mobile app, and so what we got was, hey, like that. I pretended to be the avatar to see if people actually engage with it. And then, what if I wanted to test the behavior in the app of, do we surface multiple choice, A or B? Will people answer? Would that be an easier way for people to answer versus coding it, mocking it up, test with groups like that? Because we're actually testing the behavior here versus if the design of the app is intuitive, if it's simple, if it's usable. That's important too. But if the psychology doesn't resonate, then that stage is redundant. Here's another example. Well, they send a picture in. And what if I wanted to test a specific feature that was a one-click commitment? Wouldn't that be nice for your app or service? Commitment and consistency of awesome. Again, tomorrow, and they could just do one click, and the behavior was one click. Instead of a button, it was the letter A. We're testing the psychology of the behavior of, will they interact via the mobile phone? Will they do this behavior? Will they interact with an avatar? The fourth example that I want to give with you is, can we snap test about cultural behaviors, team dynamics, team norms? And I'll give you another case. The CEO of this small education tech company came up to me and said, hey, like our core team, our C-suite is not doing well. Chief of design wants to quit. Chief technology officer is completely oblivious. We don't feel that we can express ourselves here. Completely oblivious. How do we snap test this? How do we snap test cultural norms, cultural behaviors? And so, like Torsten, he built something and they had a core offering and then they brought it in-house and tested. I was playing with these behavior cards of helping people be more mindful, right? More in the present moment to help them break through stress or frustration. They have to look at the card, they see the emotion, they turn it back, there's a quick exercise. I made those, but I haven't really had the time to test it. Lots of side projects. But when this client came up to me and we were doing a session, the night before I was pondering, I wonder if I can implement these cards into that session to help them break that pattern. And it worked, and here's what it said. But there was that uncertainty, right? It's the uncertainty of like, will it work or not? But we have to be willing to face that if we want to take the calculated risk and innovate and to get actuals, actual data, actual evidence versus hypotheses and conjectures that are in our mind. It's scary, right? There's some scary emotions when we bring something here in our mind out into reality because we're so entangled with it. So this is one quote from the chief product officer that said, hey, like I'm a 0 out of 10 of if I want to be here or not. I'm willing to quit I'm ready. She wanted to quit really bad. And this is also what she said. Jeff was the CTO. And perhaps you can relate to this too. Like these feeling things, these emotion things, perhaps this is a hippy-dippy shit, but now he really understands why it's important for both himself and the team. Because his teammates weren't feeling heard. They couldn't feel like it was safe to express themselves. They all had their own things. The CEO thought she needed to do everything herself and couldn't ask for help. The CPO bottled everything up and didn't express herself when something was going wrong. And then the CTO was just completely oblivious and thought and needed things. This is what he needed. In order for him to understand that he was doing something wrong and to improve, he needed to be asked constantly, what are you doing wrong? What are you doing wrong? What are you doing wrong? Versus, what are you doing well? How can you improve? That was the language that he needed in order to improve. And so now they iterated on the cards. They don't use it anymore, but this is the outcome that we all want. When things get heated, at least one person just drops back and creates calm in the space. Do you make better decisions when you're stressed and angry, or calm and peaceful? Calm and peaceful, great. Calm and peaceful. We know this, but in practice, right, when the going gets tough, we revert back to these routine thinking, and feelings and patterns. And so now this might be a plug and play for you. This might be a snap test experiment for you. Not mine, but something that they iterated and used on. At least they get to steps 2 and 3. I feel when you, the story in my head is. We did that in the live session and they kind of adapted that in their actual practice at work. And so perhaps you can plug and play if this is a challenge or a problem for you at work where you're not feeling heard, or you're a manager and you notice that your colleagues are not feeling heard and seen for the work that they deserve and to feel to feel like they're valued. Okay, great. So F, fear. F, fear, right? Because we now have a model of behavior, a way of understanding behavior. We have a method, snap testing, a bit of how we can test the psychology behind the idea. And then what really blocks us from this is fear. Fear of what? You tell me, fear of what? You don't have to say it out loud, but as I'm asking you, you know what the fearful thought is for you. What is the fearful thought for you? Or the fearful emotion? What are you afraid of? Because you are not your mind, right? Your mind can think a thing, think a fearful thought, but you are different from that. Similarly with an emotion. You might feel the fear, the emotion of fear, but you're not that emotion. But when we get entangled, it's so real, it's so close. Like yesterday, I'll give an example. Like yesterday, it was pouring down rain. If you did not have an umbrella for whatever reason, you know you're not gonna get hurt by the rain if you get splashed, right? But because there was this umbrella over you and there was this space between you and the rain, you felt okay. But even if you didn't have the umbrella and you were splashed with water, perhaps if that ever happened to you, you can dance joyously into it. Or you might get frustrated or angry or pissed off because of the rain, but you're not really hurt. Similarly, at work or in your personal life, this goes for both, you can have that thought, you can have that emotion, and you have your umbrella. There's space. If there's no space, then you get entangled into it, and then you become reactive and you don't make the best decisions. So, how does this relate to well-being? We covered the mobile app, we covered the meditation bus, we covered the AI avatar, and we covered the team culture. So, now what happens if we don't break through that fear? Whether it's think about your customers, your clients, your family, your friends, the people that you're trying to serve and support. If you don't break through, then we are delaying the time of impact. We're delaying the time of impact and service for your customer, for your client, for these people here, that this young generation of being more calm and peaceful. We're delaying the impact of the people that are just trying to live a healthier life because they have chronic kidney disease. and to still get the pleasure of eating whatever they want. We're delaying the impact of the team that wants to do well for their community, but they're just so caught up with each other and they can't express themselves. And so, in short, what we've forgotten is to be self-ish, making the self small and then remembering what the ish means. And the ish means this is a conference about optimism. You see optimism placed on all of that, right? We got to break through fear and remember to be self-ish. Making the self small and remember what ish means, which is to inspire, to serve, and to help. Whether it's in the games to help people entertain themselves so that they forget about the stress and worries for just a moment. Going to movie theaters is the cheapest therapy, right? We get wrapped up in a story and we get to forget about our problems, or a book. Whether you're in an ed tech company or an automobile, I'll give an automobile company. So we have a model, way of thinking about behavior. We have a method of how to design for behavior change solutions. Now, what is the target? You got some tools, but now what is the target? I would say the target is well-being. The target is well-being. And what does well-being mean? Well-being is a deep sense of pleasantness. It's simply a deep sense of pleasantness, and there are 4 areas of well-being that we can focus on. There's 4 areas of well-being that we can focus on. Whether it's for your customers, your clients, or your team, or for you, there's 4 dimensions of well-being. If it's for you, you have 100% control over these 4 areas of well-being. For your team, can our external situations always be 100% the way that we want? All the time? No matter how calculated the risk that you create, it can't be 100% the way that you want it all the time. But at least for you, your well-being, it can be. So what are the 4 dimensions? 4 dimensions are your body, your mind, your emotion, and your energy. So when the body is pleasant, we call this health. When it's very pleasant, we call this pleasure. When the mind is pleasant, we call this peace. When it gets very pleasant, we call this joy. When our emotions become pleasant, we call this love. When it becomes very pleasant, we call this compassion. When our very life energies become pleasant, we call this blissfulness. When it becomes very pleasant, we call this ecstasy. So I'll give you some examples. Ariana Huffington Post, in 2007, she had a wake-up call. She was doing working 18-hour days, and she fell down. She woke up in a pool of blood with a broken cheekbone because she was overly worked. Now, she's the biggest advocate of sleep. Sleep is just a requirement to have health. And if you're not healthy, how can you expect to have consistent pleasure in your life? So Ariana Huffington had to have a wake-up call in order to focus on body, health, pleasure. If anybody saw the recent interview with Elon Musk and Joe Rogan where it tanked the Tesla stock for a bit, if you looked at his interview, if you heard his interview, Tesla is not a car company. He explicitly said Tesla is not a car company. Tesla is about optimization of enjoyment. And if optimization of enjoyment, because he knows that peace, if we don't have peace, how the hell can we expect to be joyful? Peace is baseline for the mind. Once we have peace, then we can feel joy. And while I'm giving these examples, I want you to think of those moments where you can actually feel these emotions. So I just want to give those 2 examples there and relate it back to the behavior model. Health, pleasure is an outcome, is something that we want to focus on. What is the specific behavior? The specific behavior that Ariana Huffington wants you to do is to not bring your phone into the bedroom. That's a specific behavior that you can design for. You can define different solutions. Let's look at Tesla. To maximize enjoyment, what other car company could you pre-order online and have Easter egg hunts in your car? You can make your car dance, if anybody's seen that video. Those are specific behaviors that you can design for. So, body, mind, emotion, and energy. And then we'll end with this. Remember what I told you? That I have a 100% success rate, and we've already succeeded, so this is an overachiever thing, of helping people break their routine way of thinking. I think we've done that. Break their routine way of feeling. I think we've done that. And then the last part here is I'll bring you to that comfort zone, and I want you choose to take off. I want you to think of that fearful thought, that fearful emotion that's holding you back from your company, from innovating, from your team, for your product, for your service. Or you can apply it to your personal life. You choose what will have the biggest impact for you. You got one? And so I want you to associate that fear with this word fear, and you're going to yell back fear on a count of 3, and then we're going to keep on going until we raise the roof. All right? So for now, please stand up. High fives for your partner. And this is how we're going to end. High fives with your partner, perhaps even a fist bump if you are feeling overachiever. If you are feeling an overachiever, you can do a fist bump. Very good. I'm going to say fuck, you're going to say fear. Fuck! Fear. Fuck! Fear. Fuck! Fear. Fuck! Fear. Fuck! Fear. Fuck! Fear. Uncross your arms, loosen up. Very good. I want you to really feel it. I want you to prove all these labels of, oh, this Swiss audience is like shy. No. You are entrepreneurs, you are innovators, and you have to also fuck fear. Like any other entrepreneur out there. So shake out your body. If you can't shake this out, and I am giving permission for you to yell fear as much as possible, and if somebody requests for the roles to reverse and you guys want to say fuck, I'll say fear, we can do that too. But if somebody requests that, 3, 2, 1, fuck! Fear. Fuck! Fear. Fuck! Fear. Woo! How does that feel? Feels pretty awesome. Does anybody want the role to be reversed? I just need to see one hand. Aha, more than one hand. Very good. That was at least 10 plus hands. Okay, so on a count of 3, you guys say fuck, I'll say fear, and I'm going to associate my own fear. Because this was my snap test. I've never done this before. It's a dance, and it required you to play. And similarly, in your innovations, it requires you to step up into that place of uncertainty and for the space for life to come in and play with you. So on a count of 3, you guys say fuck, I'll say fear. 3, 2, 1. Fuck! Fear! Fuck! Fear! Fuck! Fear! Fuck! Fear! Fuck! Fear! Thank you. My name is David. No, you guys have been great. Question.
Perfect. David, thank you very much.